again. Big opening. Pass 5. Pass 10. Verbal's a man. And he goes all the way to the 15-yard line. 17 yards out of there.
Welcome back to the Believe in Badgers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. Once again, I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, busting out the double guns today, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how we doing?
Man, every day is a holiday on the podcast, as I say. And then, man, who knew I'd start the week off with talking about a legend? I'm not even a legend anymore because of guys like this who have been taken over the ranks of legendary status. Sweet beat James White dominating the Jets constantly. It was painful to watch, but I always cheer for you. Dude, thanks for being here, man. What a special individual to have early in the week.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Like I've been seeing everybody join the podcast, from coaches to former players to all different types of athletes. So it's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, man, we really appreciate you. Even though he's a Jets fan, I'm a Bills fan. You tortured us for a decade in the pros. But so we are pumped to talk to you about just everything. Before we get into it, though, I want to remind you guys that we are presented by betonline.ag, where they remain your number one source for all of your online sports wagering needs. You name it, they've got it over there at BetOnline. Right now, MLB full swing, NHL playoffs. I stayed up watching Panthers Bruins last night. That was insane. That was absolutely insane. You've got the NBA playoffs, sweet feet. The Heat already up 1-0 in the second round. Most of our listeners are Bucks fans. Sorry, guys, but your Heat took care of business in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, we took advantage of Giannis being injured, and I said Jimmy Butler did a heck of a job. You got to give him a lot of credit. After Tyler Hero going down, he's had to man a lot of the offense. And then, like I saw for one game, I was like, I don't know if he'd be able to do that again. He just kept coming. He's a heck of a player to watch. You know, once he signed to the Heat, like I thought it was a great pickup. Obviously, I think we would have needed more players around him, which I still think we need more players around him. But I don't know what it is when it comes to playoff time, he turns to a different player. And I think it's always fun to watch those players that when it's crunch time for their team, they turn it up a notch. And he's one of those guys. So it's fun.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of guys you play with on the Patriots like that. Obviously, yourself, Tom Brady, but who's someone people may not think of as someone who always stepped up in the playoffs more than usual?
For our team, I would say Danny Amendola. He's huge. Like, I feel like he's a very underrated player in the NFL history in general. Just clutch, always open, catch anything. One of my favorite teammates ever. He's almost like myself. He's pretty quiet, just works hard, and I said when his number's called upon, just always answer the bell.
Yeah, all the slot receivers also destroyed us, Bernie. We know a thing or two about that.
I don't want to talk about the Patriots at all. I know we have to, but listen, it's like, I don't know if you ever played fantasy football, but it's like having a dude on a team that you don't care to watch, but you cheer for that person.
Yeah.
I never had you on fantasy. Please don't be upset with that. But literally, I hate the Patriots with every fiber of my body. Tom Brady went to Michigan, like it pains me. But when you scored touchdowns, I was like, yeah, that's my guy. Like, go Sweet Pete. But on the inside, I was pumped. Like when you're dominating the Jets, man, every year. Like you got to think there's a lot of fans out there that are like, man, you guys really did it to us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Patriot fans, but on the same side, there's a lot of people that dislike the Patriots, especially Jets fans, Bills fans, Dolphins fans. So, but I mean, Tides is starting to kind of turn a little bit. So we'll see. This is going to be a huge year for everybody in the division, honestly. I mean, the Bills been teetering, on the edge where they can make it to a Super Bowl. Now, Jets got Aaron Rodgers. The last year was sort of a disappointment for the Patriots. The Dolphins, they have a good roster, whether Tua can stay healthy. So it's kind of a toss-up this year. So it's going to be, to me, it's the best division in football. I thought it was last year too. And it's going to be a fun one to watch. But I said, looking at it on paper, it's hard to say my Patriots just based on, players and all that. It's hard to not put us in last place, like based off last season and based off, names and quote unquote. But all that doesn't necessarily matter. The Patriots have the best coach. So that's what matters the most.
Well, and on top of that, they probably got the biggest steal of the draft with Christian Gonzalez dropping to 18. But no matter who your squad is, You can bet on them over there at betonline.ag. So head on over to the website, use your mobile device to sign up today. Use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started here with Sweet Feet back down in South Florida. I mean, where else is there to start? We've already talked about the Heat, but where do you get started? Like, I'm going to steal the Bernie line today. James, what is Little Sweet Feet like, and where did you get the nickname? Because I know you had that before you got to Wisconsin.
Well, for myself, just growing up in South Florida, I mean, sports are huge down there. I played football, baseball, basketball. Basketball as a sport I was the worst at. I just played pretty much because I was athletic, and when I was younger, I was probably bigger than most of the kids and probably a little bit more athletic. So I could dominate that way. But the older I got, the worse I got at basketball. That's probably the sport I worked at the least. Once like I got to middle school, I think I tried out for the freshman basketball team in high school, didn't make it. That was the end of that. But played baseball, played football. I said was blessed to have parents that, were able to give me the outside help aside from just practice, to put the extra work in on the side. So definitely blessed and fortunate for that. So I tried to take advantage of that and always tried to work on my craft and make sure, I was the best player I could be, and kind of let my parents know what they were doing. I could reward them in a sense for it to, kind of make it pay off. And my nickname I got that from high school. My high school creative writing teacher, Mr. Aloma, he kind of ran our senior skit, in front of the school and whatnot. I don't know, it was kind of random. He's like, James, Sweet Feet, white and that. Like, I laughed at the time. I didn't really use it at the moment. Once I declared for the draft or whatever, after I graduated from Wisconsin to go on to the NFL, my agent said I should change my Twitter handle, Instagram handle, and whatnot to make it more appealing. I don't know. But first thing that came to mind was Sweet Feet. And I just put it on there. I didn't really think too much of it. Didn't think it was going to be a big deal. And everybody kind of liked it. It turned to my coaches calling me it, Tom calling me it. So everybody seemed to love it. So that's where it all started.
You're from senior year, then you forgot about it?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a big deal at the time, but I said it's pretty cool. I see a lot of people using now on Instagram and all that too. So it's cool to see that.
You ever call that guy up and say, "Hey man, thank you"?
I never have, but
it's a great nickname.
Yeah,
it's a great nickname.
It fits for me both on and off the field because I love shoes, and on the field, I feel like my feet is what kind of makes me as a player. That's quick feet and be able to make guys miss. So,
so let's talk about high school football. What was it like? Like when did it click? You're like, man, I could do this at a different level or the next level.
Well, on top of that, though, I got to interject. You didn't just play high school football. You played high school football to one of the most storied programs in the United States of America, St. Thomas Aquinas. I mean, what's the competition like when you just step in as a freshman?
It's a lot of competition. Coming in as a freshman, you have seniors there that are 5-star recruits getting recruited by, top programs, Florida, Alabama, and all that stuff. So, coming in my freshman year, the seniors were like Major Wright. I don't know if you ever heard. They played for the Florida Gators and guys like that. Who else was there? Marcus Gilbert, he played for the Steelers. So it was like some extreme talent. And, me and a few of my other, classmates in that class, Giovanni Menard, a good friend of mine, we were in the same class. Like when he first got there, we were competing with, some of those guys. So coming into school, competing against guys that are about to be, Division I stars, that elevates your level of play. So I think to be able to compete with some of the top talent across, the nation and practice every single day, it's only going to make you better. You got to figure out ways to get better. So it's a blessing for me because you got to compete against top talent every single day, and you have great coaching staff. And I said, it's a blessing for sure. And then even coming into high school, there's probably 7 of us that play little league football against each other. Maybe not the same weight level. Some guys played the highest weight level. Some guys played down because they're a little bit smaller. We all were running backs, and we all were really good running backs in little league. I remember when I got to high school, I'm like, man, it's 7 of us. There's no way all of us. We're all in the class of 2010. There's no way all of us can play running back. I'm just gonna switch the corner. I remember went home and told my dad that. He's like, no, you're not switching the corner. You're going to go out there and compete. That's what you do. And if you compete, you can't win, then sure, switch your position, something like that. But don't just give up on something that you've been doing, your whole life playing that position. And, it all worked out. But it's always good to have my dad in the corner in that space to, drive the point home, to compete. Don't just walk away from this competition.
Smart. It's very smart of that man to push you to do that, because look at what happened in your life. Imagine switching a corner. Who knows what could happen?
Who knows what happened?
Is it cool? I have to ask this question because nobody knows my high school. Is it cool when someone goes, "Hey, do you know what high school? Like, what high school did you go to?" And you say your high school, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know where that is. I know that."
Yeah, it's fun because not every single person knows, but people who know about high school football. You mentioned St. Thomas Aquinas, and they know about it, like being competitive. Playing on TV almost every single year now, and it's always being a nationally ranked football team. Even till this day, they're playing really good football. The head coach, Roger Harriet, he actually coached them out at Little League Park when I was growing up. To see him, get the head coach job there now and see the great job that he's doing is pretty amazing. And actually, I definitely don't take it lightly. I know we wear it with pride. I know it's a saying that we have at St. Thomas, pride on A. So we take pride in playing for that high school.
Listen, I think it's so cool because I don't know much about high school, but I know that high school very well. Everyone, I think everyone does. So like, when is it? Like, is it like your junior year or something? Like, when do you start getting letters? When do you start like, man, this is something I could do to get into college? Like, when does that start clicking?
I don't know the exact time. I mean, you get like the little letters and stuff that may not necessarily mean anything. Probably like sophomore year or so. I guess my sophomore year, this is when I kind of got my sophomore year. I went to a Clemson camp when Bobby Bowden's son was the head coach there. I went to the Clemson camp. I killed it there, and they offered me there like on the spot. So I think that was kind of. I mean, I knew I could have an opportunity just by going to St. Thomas. There's a possibility if you play well, there's going to be scouts there. You're going to have an opportunity, but to go there and kind of kill the camp and get offered there on the spot, that's when I really said, "Oh, I can make this thing really happen." But even still, I knew I'd be able to make it to Division I football, but at the same time, still, when I don't know how the percentages of guys that actually make it to the NFL is still very slim. So, I mean, you make it there. That's just one step in the process. But once you get your foot in the door, you still got to find ways to get better and compete. But I guess after my freshman year of college, I think that's when it kind of hit me like, okay, this thing could be real. I can end up making a career out of this after winning the Big Ten freshman of the year. It's a funny thing when I got to training camp my freshman year and actually seeing myself, because I thought I was like our team wasn't huge at St. Thomas. Like, we were a really good football team. And our team wasn't huge. Like, we had a few big offensive linemen, but very average size football team. I got to college and seeing myself on tape for the first time. I'm like, damn, I'm not that big. Like, I thought I was a lot bigger than what I was. Like couldn't really see myself behind our offensive line at Wisconsin. Everybody's 6'4", 300 plus pounds. Like, damn, like, I'm not that big, but it didn't stop me from competing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the process that got you to Wisconsin. So, I mean, you said you got that Clemson offer on the spot at camp. I know your recruiting process, you kept moving on. I know you went to, you were interested in Michigan State and South Florida. You got a bunch of offers. What puts Wisconsin over the edge? And then what, actually, I'm much more curious about, talk to us about your official visit.
For myself, my official visit, I visited the first game of the year. Then they played NIU. It was actually a really close game. But two of my high school teammates, Desmond Southward and Connor O'Neill, they went to Wisconsin the year before me. So that kind of sparked my interest a little bit after receiving the offer, because I didn't know too much about, Big Ten football and whatnot. I didn't even know where Wisconsin was located on the map. Even after I committed, people in my school like, you going to Wisconsin? Where is that? I'm like, I don't know. Like all I knew about Wisconsin was cheese, and that's pretty much all I knew too.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong at all. But on my official visit, just had a great time, chopping up. We had a lot of Florida guys, or they had a lot of Florida guys on the roster at the time that I had, may not have known, but knew of. So just chopping it up with them and getting to know how they like the campus and whatnot, how they like the school. It was very comforting for me. And a big part of it for me as well, going into college, I wanted to be in a pro style offense. I didn't want to go to, even though spread is a huge thing, doesn't mean you're not going to transition to the NFL, but I wanted to be in a pro style offense. I wanted to run the football. What other place would you rather go as running back than the University of Wisconsin? You got to run the ball, at the time, at least 30, 40 times a game. So I wanted to be a part of that. A lot of legends that run the football. And like I said, not a lot of guys still, making their mark at the university. And it's been fun to watch to be a part of that running back fraternity.
Dude, it's the fraternity of running backs out of Wisconsin. To me, it's unmatched. I'm very biased, but for college football, not counting the pros,
yeah,
what's accomplished on the field for the last 40 years has been astonishing. And it continues.
It truly has. And I've always wondered why, some of the top 5-star, whatever. You don't have to be a 5-star to go to school, but I've always wondered why some of those guys aren't interested in going to Wisconsin. You're always going to have a good offensive line. You're going to run the football. Why not think of Wisconsin? I don't know, but I have to do it. I have to say it. The coaches do a great job of finding those guys, whether it's 3-star, 2-star, no star. They find the right guys and they know they're going to fit in the system and develop into good football players. So you got to give them a lot of credit.
Well, you talk about fit though, right? Wasn't that a lot about the success you guys had in New England? If you think about it, you didn't have the number 1 overall draft picks, who were there. You have guys who fit into what you guys were doing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about in New England. Everybody doesn't have to be a first-round draft pick, a former 5-star. They do a great job of, getting to know the people, getting to know, are they football savvy, and figuring out if they're going to fit in the locker room and fit, in their scheme and whatnot. I think that's a very important part that Bill Belichick, I think he does a great job on a year-to-year basis, just finding the right guys to bring to the building because, one guy can, I would say one guy, but you get a few of those bad apples in there, it kind of spoils everything that's going on in there. And from a 20 plus years, however long he's been coaching in the organization, to sustain that culture for that long is truly impressive because we've seen it go the other way in many places.
Is that guy a genius?
Yeah, truly. It's just it's just amazing to see because on a week-to-week basis, you're planning for the game. He says something's going to happen. On Wednesday, this is going to come up. This play is going to come up. And Sunday rolls around, boom, that play comes up. Either we did it right or we did it wrong. He's got praise if we did it wrong. We talked about this shit. Not every time. I said it's truly amazing how the stuff that he says truly comes to fruition. He lives and breathes football. He has a bed in his office. He can sleep there. He just loves the game, man.
And he really loves special teams.
Yeah, yep. He truly does. And so he enjoys every facet of the game, and he wants to be on his P's and Q's and make sure every facet of the game is prepared for any given moment. You're going to work on every situation possible. They create their own situations. They come up with some random ass name for some situation that may not ever come up. Why the hell are we doing this? But sometimes it does come up. And like I said, you're going to be prepared for it because he's prepared for any possible thing that can happen.
Well, Sweeby, I feel like now coming out of high school, you would have been Wisconsin would have been high on your board off of just what you're seeing with this new offense, the spread. A guy like you who could do all these unique things. Mm-hmm. Would that be exciting for you? Is the new offense right now exciting for you?
I think it's definitely exciting. At the time, when I was coming out, everything was pro spread wasn't necessarily the norm. So if we turn back the clock, maybe I may not have been as interested, but the running back history would have interested me as well. As long as you ran the football, whether it was spread or not, I think that would have been very interesting. But I feel like even in the NFL, it's turned to more and more of a passing league. So I guess if I was in high school right now, Wisconsin definitely be still very intriguing to me. I think what they're doing is going to be really cool. I think times are changing. So we can't line up in the 22, 23 personnel,
Sadly.
But yeah,
some of my favorite personnel.
Yeah. I love it too. On 3rd and 3 every time and try to run it to convert and all that. Times are definitely changing, and guys are starting to figure it out. And these players are getting faster, smarter, and all that. So eventually, you got to be able to turn the page and figure out a new way. It doesn't mean you have to change like your emphasis. You just do it a different way. So it's going to be fun and exciting to watch this new coaching staff, see what they, what kind of players they continue to bring in, what do they envision themselves doing from an offensive standpoint, a defensive standpoint. It's going to be fun to watch because it's going to be something new for everybody. It's going to be completely different than something that we've ever seen. So I'm excited to see how it all shakes out.
I completely agree. It's going to be very exciting. Let's go back to Wisconsin, though. You show up on campus. You walk into the meeting room. Who's in the meeting room? Who are you like, wow, I can't wait to meet? Like, what does that look like?
It's it's pretty crazy. You got, Big John Clay there. You got Monty Ball, Antonio Finellis, Jay Valai. All these guys are really, J.J. Watt, these really good football players that have had a lot of success at the college level. Like, I went to the bowl game when they beat Miami in Orlando the year before. Like, I actually got on campus and whatnot, just seeing the work that they put in to win that football game against a really good, really talented Miami team. Obviously, they weren't Miami of the past, but they still had a lot of talent on that team. A lot of guys that I grew up watching in South Florida playing on that football team. To see those guys compete against those guys and, pretty handily, kind of take over that game. To be a part of that locker room, like, it was truly amazing just to see the work that they put in from a freshman coming on campus. You just want to be a sponge. Like, I still don't talk too much. I mean, I probably talk more now than I ever have, getting into the media space. But I just wanted to be a sponge, put the work in, not be a guy that's gonna, be a freshman that's talking and rub guys the wrong way. I wanted to, do the right thing, be a sponge. And like I said, I didn't even know whether I was going to play as a freshman or not. Like, I had like success during camp and all that stuff, but I still didn't know whether I was going to actually play. But I said I just wanted to be a viable option if my number was called, and I just took that approach every single year.
Who was the running backs coach when he came in?
Settle.
It was John Settle. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, Settle's coached a ton of extraordinarily successful backs at Wisconsin. How did he run his meeting room? Like, what's the vibe in there? Like, I mean, you talked about guys. I mean, we've had Big Play and Monty on the show. They're both great personalities, right? What other backs are in there, and how is Coach Settle sort of running those meetings on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis?
Yeah, so it was me, it was Monty Ball, Jeff Lewis, John Clay, and what's my guy's name? Zach Brown was there too at the time. So we had a lot of talent in that room. He's, Set's kind of like myself. He's for a coach, he's fairly quiet. He's doesn't have a temperament whatsoever. Like, you really have to do something wrong or really rub him the wrong way to really, kind of get him out of his skin and they can, jump out and scream at you. But like I said, it was a fun guy to be around. It was great for me for my freshman year. He taught us a lot for the game of football, and he trusted in all of us to, protect the football. And he believed in all of us as well. If Monty was down, he trusted me to go in there. If Clay was down, he trusted both of us to go in there. Like, whoever got in the game, we could all go out there, rush for 100 yards, protect the football, protect the quarterback as well. So he did a great job preparing us.
I have to assume the meeting room was pretty funny.
Yeah,
because he was a funny guy.
He was a funny guy, but in the meeting room, he was fairly serious. But he was a goofy guy, though. Like, in the meeting room, wasn't too many jokes going off, but he definitely was goofy if you catch him outside the meeting room and just joke around, talk about family and, talk about stuff outside of like the game of football.
So what's it like? Did you guys, was the tunnel built yet? Or were you walking through the fans at this point?
We're walking through the fans, I believe.
Dude, what? That's the coolest. Yeah. First off, that's the coolest thing I think I've ever done at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Outside of scoring a touchdown. Yeah. That is like special.
Yeah.
What was that like, your first game?
Yeah. I think the tunnel was built probably, was it like that my senior year? I feel like it might have been like that I don't know. I don't really remember. I think that we had a tunnel my senior year, but I love the old entrance, walking through the fans, kind of going down the ramp. We got to be careful coming down that ramp. But like that was always fun, man. Just getting the feel, getting the electricity from the fans, going down that it's just one of a kind. Like, the Camp Randall experience. I love Wisconsin. It always has a special place in my heart. The fans are, they're amazing. It's completely different than Florida. Everybody's nice in Wisconsin and Florida. You gotta be careful who you bump into and whatnot. But
what you say?
What you say. Yeah, don't honk your horn and all that. But it's it's just a fun place to be. The electricity was just in the air. And so I love walking through the fans before the game because they're riled up. They have a few beers in them. They've been tailgating a little bit, and it just really gets you going.
So, I like how you say a few beers. I've never seen anyone walk into that stadium with just a few beers in them.
Well, so I have a question though. Like, how do you get? I've think kind of question for both you guys. How do you get hyped up for those 11 a.m. games sometimes? Because like if you've got an 11 a.m. kickoff against Troy or something, right, in week 2, I mean, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a lot easier to get hyped up for a night game against Michigan or Ohio State, right? You've got an 11 a.m. kickoff against Troy. Like, yeah, you every game 1-0. We know the Bielema mentality, but really, like, how do you get up for that?
You just gotta wake your body up. I know with Coach B, he'd always stress for us to take a shower in the morning to kind of jumpstart your body. I didn't always do that, but jumpstart, get you going. But I say it may take a while for you. You know, you wake up around like 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning to kind of get it going. By the time you get to the stadium, you warm up, like you're locked in, you're ready to play football, no matter what time of the day it is. I mean, honestly, probably at the time, like if it was a night game, I like the electricity of it. You're probably playing a really good school and a tough game and all that. But I didn't mind 11 a.m. games because you get to have fun afterwards. Well, get to go out with your family afterwards. You still have time to go out and have time with your friends. So I didn't mind 11 a.m. games. I like to get up and go. Don't really have to think about it too much. Just you jump up, get out of bed. It's essentially time to play football. So I didn't mind it whatsoever.
Okay, enough about football. Where are you going after the game?
The game at the time, probably the KK. I think Johnny O's was there, Wando's. There's a bunch of different. I know things are different now than what it was.
I don't know what things are like now, but Bernie, I know that
never
Wando's.
heard of those bars before. I have no idea where they are.
No clue.
Oh my God. The 11 o'clock games were great because you could do stuff after.
Yeah.
And if your family came in, if you had a 2:30 game, it was hard to, by the time you're done with the game and showering and maybe media or whatever you were doing, it was hard to get to dinner. And then they were leaving.
Yeah.
So the 11 o'clock games for me just were like, I just hated waking up at 6 o'clock because it's hard to go to sleep the night before because you're juiced, ready to go play a game. So then it's like, wake up at 6. I always had all my clothes like ready to put on, ran downstairs, ate, got back, tried to fall back asleep. Because at this point in time, I could still fall back asleep. Showered quick. We went to mass, which for a Jewish guy is like 20 minutes of kind of just sitting there, relaxed. It was almost like, what's it called? Like mindfulness. Because I wasn't paying attention, but had to be there with the team because I wanted to be with the team. The second for me, you got on that bus and see everyone partying and going hard. I was like, man, I'm ready. Let's go to the stadium. Because from the in-towner to the stadium was like a mile and a half.
Yeah, not very far.
And by that point, I was like, you couldn't even listen to a song. The cops, they had all the cops out there with all the sirens on. That got me amped up. And then once you're there in the stadium, it's game day. It's hard to not be fired up. I can't say I played great for all like the games that were like Troy's and Bowling Greens. I can't say I played great, but
it could take some time to get started.
it does take a long time to get started.
First game of your 2005 season, Burn. It took you guys a second, and then BC like ran for like 300 yards. So,
and then there was that he did. I even had a touchdown. Isn't that amazing?
Everybody gets a tub.
So who's the crew though? Like who's your crew? Like who are you rolling with out to places that will go unnamed?
Well, let's see. Monty was definitely in there. Melvin was in there. Warren Herring, Isaiah Williams. It was a solid little crew. I mean, I switched it up. I try to hang out with a bunch of my teammates. Just all depends on the given night.
So when we had Monty on, he talked about one time when he tried to bring Russell to the KK. And Russell showed up in not the proper attire for the KK. Were you there for that?
I wasn't there for that.
Oh, that's too bad.
I heard about it. I think like him and like Nick Toon and them in there. I wasn't there for that. I just heard the stories. I know he was a little too dressed up, or I think man might have been wearing white or something. He
was wearing Burberry.
Burberry. Okay, you don't want to wear that to the KK.
You don't want to wear anything that get destroyed into the KK.
Yeah. More stuff that's already dirty.
So James, let's talk about like that first game that you played in. What's it like getting on the field? Like nervous energy? You knew you were going to play. Like, what's that like?
For me, well, my first game was interesting. I remember we played UNLV, so we were out in Vegas for the first game of the year. Me and Brady Ewan were roommates, and with Coach B, like usually like for like the pregame meal, almost like a sin, like what walking in there like a few minutes before, like whatever, like I don't know, remember we say grace or whatever it may be, but we're just like walking in there probably like a couple minutes before pregame meal, like me and Brady, like everybody's like looking at us like, hello, like I didn't know we had to be here like 10 minutes before like pregame meal or whatnot. So that kind of had me on like a weird spot already. And like when we get to the game, and I didn't know whether I was going to play or not. And it might have been like the first or second quarter. It's like Coach said, like get in there. Like I didn't really move. Like I had like tapped me, like get in there. Like I was like, so right there, and like the nerves were already going a little bit. But then I got the ball in the first play. I should have scored. If I wasn't as nervous, I probably would have scored, but probably had like a 10, 15-yard gain or whatnot. And after that, it was just playing football after that. I mean, once you get that first hit, that first run, you're all good. But I definitely was nervous going into that moment because I didn't know, and they didn't really say much to me as far as when they expected to put me into the game. It's just kind of got that nudge, just like, get in there. Like, what are you doing? Like, so that made me even more nervous than what I should have been, but it all worked out.
Well, especially then, because you guys had 4 guys that were really rotating with you and Big Play and Monty and Zach. Like you guys were all getting touches. And now you were accustomed to sharing touches. I mean, like you said, you went to high school with Gio Bernard, which is, I think it's pretty rare for even a school with the pedigree of St. Thomas Aquinas to produce 2 10-year NFL vets from the same high school class.
That's
at the
rare.
same position.
In the same position, very rare, especially a running back.
And so you were accustomed to sharing touches. How did you guys, what was sort of the dynamic for that, right? Was everyone, I assume everyone was like relatively cool with it, but what's that dynamic for you guys like with, there's only one ball?
Man, everybody was cool with it. I think a few of us were banged up at some point during the year, so got split up that way. And I ended up getting hurt, and Monty went back in there and kind of took over. He almost had 1,000 yards that year as well. Clay got hurt a little bit, so I think that helped out some, but we all were friends. We all competed with one another. And so I never have a problem sharing the football. And I think it gives the defense, something else to prepare for when you have, you got 6'2", 260 or whatever John Clay was at the time running the football. And then you got myself, 5'9", probably 195 pounds at the time running the football. And then you got Monty, 5'11", 220, whatever he was at the time. So they got prepared for a few different guys. Everybody brings something different to the game. So I think it makes the defense have to adjust a lot. So I always enjoy it. I love competing because you see John Clay break off a 20-yard run. I want to go out there and break a 20-yard run, not like do too much, but I want to go out there and help my team, make a play as well.
What do you think your niche was? Like, when did you start honing kind of that niche?
My niche, I don't really know. I think for myself, coming in my freshman year, I was just playing football. I didn't really know the game that well. I just was playing football, just playing free. Like I probably didn't watch as much tape as I probably should have at the time. I didn't really know all the formations and all that. I just knew when I was getting the ball, like I knew my pass protection and all. I knew protections, and I knew when I was getting the ball, and I knew my reads. And other than that, I could care less. I was just playing free. And then, coming into so my niche was just, I feel like it was just my vision, my anticipation, and making guys miss my freshman year. And then after that, Coach Sett left. He went to the Panthers after my freshman year. And we got Thomas Hammock in as our running back coach. And the first day he came in, he slapped a test in front of all of us with like formations, run blocking schemes, like all that stuff. And I remember like we all like looking at each other in the meeting room like we don't know this. Like I know like fire Zulu, like I get the ball, weak side run, like stuff like that. But other than that, I don't really know much. So he slapped that test in front of us, and then from that day forward, that changed my perspective on the whole game, like learning the game of football and knowing so much more than just my responsibility. So I'm forever grateful for him actually doing that, because if he hadn't done that, I would just probably done the same thing. Just I know what I got to do, and then I'm good. But I think that's what helped me transition to the NFL so much better. It's just because I understood what we were trying to get accomplished on 1st and 10. Why are we running it versus this look, or whatever it may be? Why are we running this pass play versus this coverage, and all that stuff just helped me out a ton.
So it was a test like holistically about everything that was all going off on the field, like coaching, like why we do this, why we're doing. So it's situational. Well, is it like what does the tackle do?
It wasn't like to that extent, but it's more of like formations, like run plays, like draw up the blocking scheme versus this, like who's blocking who, what's your read, this protection, is it a 6-man or 7-man protection, like stuff like that. And like at the time, I had no clue. Like I knew like a few of the formations just from hearing them, but like we weren't asked really to do too much aside from run the football and just pass protect a few times before he got there. And then like once Coach Chris left, we were asked to do a little bit more as far as learning, formations, catching ball out of the backfield. So we had to know that stuff. So it helped out tremendously.
Well, I feel like, oh, sorry, Matt.
Go ahead, Bernie.
I was going to say, when I showed up, all that stuff was impossible to understand right away. Because no matter what you did in high school, still, this is all new. And there's so much to learn. And I feel like eventually, like osmosis, you learn it all. Like you just start picking up, and then you start figuring out like how important knowing like what the right side is going to do on power. You're like, oh, this is why it's not a B gap or an A gap run. You're like, because they're double teaming the guy in there. Like, don't go there.
Be outside of him.
Or don't go backside because we're not blocking any of those dudes. So like, you go back there, you're an idiot. Which sometimes it works though, but not a lot. It works sometimes. But I do think like picking up on that stuff is really difficult.
Yeah.
What's it like to do that? So then to transfer to go into the NFL is the playbook is ginormous. What's it like going, since you learned and figured out how to do this? Was it easier or harder to go into the pros and try to figure out that offense?
It was way easier for me because you could almost kind of transition the concept. It's like, because everybody kind of runs similar stuff. Like, oh, 64 protection here. Oh, this was just north and south for Wisconsin. Like it's the same thing here. Like you just kind of use that. But I just think after that test with Coach Hammock, the game of football just came a little bit easier to me just because I knew what to expect as far as having to learn the game. So I think that's all it was. I mean, obviously there was still so much more. Like the NFL does way more complex stuff than what you do in college. So you still there's some learning aspect to it. And I just tried to ask a lot of questions of some of the veteran guys as well, because I still didn't have some understanding to some of them. Like they're saying this, but like it's not like working out the way they're saying. Like what am I listening wrong? Or like, but they would just like dumb it down for me. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like I'm like, so why are they saying it like this? So look, you just got to ask questions and be a sponge. Just try and get the right answers and just watch the guys who are doing it right. I think that helps out a lot.
Believe in Badgers is excited to be brought to you by Infinigods. Infinigods is a gaming studio with a suite of free, fun-to-play games centered around ancient mythologies and civilizations. Visit Infinigods.com to play their first game, Infinimerge, and learn about their upcoming tower defense game. Play for fun or play to compete and take your shot at winning digital collectibles. That's Infinigods at Infinigods.com, unleashing the power of blockchain games.
So who are those guys that are taking you under your wing when you get there?
Yeah, Shane Vereen, Brandon Bolden, I mean, all the running backs, just those veteran guys who have had a lot of success in the league, just watching those guys, just asking them. I mean, I didn't ask a million questions, but if something confused me, that I asked because I don't want to go out there and, up on the field. I don't want to be that guy.
I mean, no one wants to be that guy, especially when Tom Brady's the guy that you're playing next to. So what? I mean, you got on the field early in your career, and what do you think accounted for that?
For myself, is you just have to build a trust factor. I mean, my rookie year, I only played in 3 games because we had Shane Vereen, we had the veteran guys that did the things that they probably saw me doing, down the line once he ended up going to the Giants the next year. But even my second year, Deion Lewis kind of took over that role. He was the main guy until he got hurt. That's when I kind of filled in that niche. But you just have to build that trust factor to be able to protect the quarterback, protect the football, pass, block, run routes, to do all that stuff. I think once you build a trust factor between your head coach, offensive coordinator, and all those guys, I think that's when they kind of take the leash off you a little bit and they just kind of let you go. And I think each year, I just tried to build that trust more and more and more and allow for them to feel like they can call anything when I was in the game.
What's it like walking into the Patriots locker room and literally one of the probably maybe the best player to ever play in the NFL is sitting there and you have to like, he's your coworker pretty much.
Oh yeah, man. It makes your competitive juices like start flowing. Like either you can kind of shrink back or you kind of chomp at the bit to, want to compete with those guys and kind of show them what you got. And I wanted to show what I had, like, right away. I mean, I had a pretty solid OTAs and whatnot. And I said, went out there, competed, tried to do whatever I could to show that I could play my rookie year. But in the preseason games, I didn't really do like I didn't get like a heck of a lot of reps. But when I was out there, I was like, they probably like, oh, this guy just like he's whatever. Like like we can't play him, but like, he didn't do during the preseason. He can do a little bit of things in practice, but when the games roll around, he's not doing. But I said, but for myself, like I tried to live up to the competition. Like walking to the locker room, you got Tom Brady, you got Gronk, you got Julian Edelman, you got Darrell Revis, you got Devin McCourty, Rob Ninkovich, you got all these guys that played at a high level in the NFL. I just wanted to go out there and compete and show them what I had. And unfortunately, it didn't work out my first year, but eventually it did. And I said, I feel like I just built that trust factor between, like me and Tom and, my offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, and Bill Belichick eventually to show them that, I could be a guy that I can help the team with.
You mentioned Gronk, who I think my favorite description of Gronk is he is a trained polar bear. What's your best Gronk story?
Best Gronk story. Oh, man.
Or just one that comes to mind when you say Gronk, because I imagine there's a trillion of them.
Yeah, I mean, not as many as you expect, but he's a funny guy, but he's pretty serious, and he's not like as goofy as what people think. Like on an everyday basis, he's in the building. He doesn't really talk too much. I mean, funniest story is probably like we're doing walkthroughs. Like we do a million walkthroughs with the Patriots, but we're just doing a walkthrough before practice, and he's just like out of it. Like it almost like he just doesn't want to be there in a sense. And he probably ran a play like 3 times, and he messed up the play every single time. And then like he's a guy who's kind of like walks or like that and whatnot, but he just it up 3 times in a row. Josh McDaniels just like, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. Like that's just the type of guy that Gronk was. He just funny. He wasn't even trying to be funny, but he just messed stuff up every now and then. But when that game time rolls around, nobody can stop him.
Nobody can stop him. Believe me, we know Matt Perkins a lot.
We do. We know a little bit too much.
We know a little too much. So what was the relation between like Tom Brady and Gronk? Because they eventually went to Tampa together. So they must have, like, does Tom love him? Like, Tom to me seems, I use Tom as but
because you're
TB12. Yeah, my best friend, Tom Brady. He seems very serious, and he seems like every play, everything he does is very serious. Except now these commercials that he's on are actually pretty funny. Is that the way he goes about business? And then how does he incorporate like funny guys like Gronk into, or is everyone serious when it's time to be serious?
Yeah, everybody's pretty serious when it's time to be serious. But I mean, off the field, he's just like one of the guys in the locker room. He shoots the shit. He talks shit. He has fun with the guys, even though he may be a lot older than most of the guys. He knows how to have fun. But when it's time to get on the practice field, he's locked in and he's ready to go. And I think that's like with Gronk. He's not, obviously he has a good time when he's on the field as well. But when it's time to compete, he's competing hard. And I mean, Gronk is Tom's ultimate weapon. They built a great relationship, great rapport. I think pretty sure Gronk has the most touchdowns he's ever thrown to. But like their connection was amazing. Like they knew what they were looking for, like on every single play. Yeah, like seam route, Gronk knew exactly when to look. Ball's there, boom. Fade route, he knew exactly what Gronk was going to do based on how the defensive back was playing. Like they know what signals are coming. Like their connection was just really, really good. And I said it was almost unstoppable, especially in Gronk's prime when he wasn't getting banged up too much.
So at this point in time, what are you getting passionate about off the field? Like, I mean, obviously adjusting the NFL is a full-time job, but what after college, like, what are you really getting interested outside of football?
Right now, I'm trying to get into the media, like broadcasting space. I do a radio show on Sirius XM, The Opening Drive with Solomon Wilcots on Wednesday mornings. I called a few games on radio with Sports USA during the year, called about 4 games, and I did like a little Patriots podcast after games on The Ringer with, I almost said his name wrong. Can't think of his name right now, but did that. That's bad. That's bad. But I did it after Patriots games, kind of a rundown and kind of overview of what happened during the game. But that's what I've been trying to get into. I retired during training camp, so most opportunities in the media space are taken up by that point. So just waiting to see what opportunities come through that. But also had interest in video game all my life, so still do it.
Okay, what's your game of choice then?
Right now I've been big into MLB The Show.
Okay.
I love baseball. I've been playing that a lot. I play Call of Duty, 2K, Madden, all that stuff. That's probably about to the extent that I go right now. I haven't branched off the
Xbox, PlayStation, PC.
I'm an Xbox guy. I have a PlayStation 5 too. Just don't really turn it on whatsoever.
Well, if you want to get rid of that, I got an address you can send it to.
No,
I mean, I love video games, but I play computer games mostly. When did you start getting into video games?
Ever since a kid. Like, my older brother was always big into games, just compete with him.
What was the first one you were interested in? What was the game that got you into it?
I have to be Madden. I'm sure Madden was probably the first game I was interested in. My dad used to play against us like when we were younger and whatnot, until he just wasn't interested in it anymore. But my brother used to beat me in video games all the time, and used to turn the game off and run away and things of that nature before the game was over and piss him off. But yeah, just competing with my cousins, my neighbors, just having fun with it. So it just brings that competitive edge out of you. And I always had a good time with it. And it's a way to stay in contact with a lot of my friends, a lot of my college teammates as well. We on the game all the time. And so don't get the opportunity to necessarily see them in person as much anymore with me having kids and whatnot. So that's a way for me to stay in contact with them. And I did the show with Brian Barrett. That's my guy. He just came to mind. So
okay, so then I got to ask, who's the best Call of Duty player on the Badgers that you play with?
Probably Sojourn Shelton. He was really good. He was really good. Jared Abadaris was good too. He's really good. Who else was pretty good? Mike Taylor was really good too. And we had some guys that were solid.
We used to have guys would bring their Xbox, the first one, to our apartment, and we'd set up 3 different TVs to play Halo against each other.
That's the old school. I'm doing,
yes, sir.
My neighbors.
The old school. Get the Ethernet cord and attach it to everything. Dude, the hockey guys were unstoppable. They're extremely, hey, Bird, we're coming for you. I'm like, there's no way I'm hiding somewhere that they probably can, and boom, I'm dead in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
amazing. Good times. Dude, I gotta ask, what's it like hoisting up, is that the right word? Hoisting?
Hoisting
the Lombardi trophy up.
Man, it's an amazing feeling. Just all the hard work you put in from, OTAs, training camp, off-season workouts, all that stuff. You do all that to get to that moment right there. And so you pour every last ounce of, blood, sweat, and tears, your breath, everything into hoisting that trophy up. And like I said, from things, going up during the season, down during the season, you may got hurt and whatnot. You get into that game, you just want to leave it all out on the field, and to be able to win that game is no other greater feeling like it, man. It's truly amazing. And it's everybody's just embracing one another. I mean, it's that celebration lasts quite a long time.
So I gotta ask though, Super Bowl 51, speaking of that feeling, first of all, I'm still mad you didn't win the MVP. And I know you can't say anything about that, so I'm saying that. Bernie's saying that should have been, because I mean, statistically, it's the greatest game a running back has ever had in the Super Bowl. James, what's going through your mind and your body during that comeback, and you're getting all these touches? Just talk us through sort of that moment.
For me, coming to the game, I knew I'd be a factor in the game because Dan Quinn was the head coach, and he came from Seattle. And Shane Vereen had a big game against Seattle when he was the defensive coordinator there, and they ran a similar scheme. So I knew I'd have, play a pretty solid factor into the game. But obviously, we went down by a bunch of points, so the pass catching running back is going to be on the field most of the time. So my number just got called a little bit more. And I said, I just wanted to, like, I didn't play in the Seattle game my rookie year. So I always said if I got an opportunity to play in that game, I was going to do whatever it took to, help my team win the football game. Obviously, didn't think we were going to be down that much. I was like, God damn, like, I'm going to get to play in my first Super Bowl. We're about to get blown out. That's a sick feeling. But like I said, even when we were down, I just wanted to find a way to make plays, just scratch and claw and try and get my team back in the football game. And the ball just kept coming and just got to a point where I always say it was like almost like I got blacked out. Like it's like no fans were there, just me, my teammates, and the opponent. And it's almost like practice. It's like everything was working for me. Just as a player, sometimes you just get in one of those zones where you just feel like nobody can stop you. That's just the mode that I was pretty much in. Everything was working. I was exhausted, but like I said, you work so hard to get to that moment right there. Why not just leave it all out there? And that's how it all turned out.
Dude, it's a great game to be in that mode.
Yeah.
You're like the Super Bowl down.
Yeah.
You come back and win. Dude, literally, I did think you should have been the MVP too. I'm sure almost probably everyone in the nation thought that. But still, like, who cares? You won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty spectacular in and of itself. That I would say, as you said before, like, going from high school to college is a small percentage. Going from college to NFL is even smaller. And then even having any chance of winning a Super Bowl is to me the pinnacle of any sport.
Yeah, it's slim chances. Like I said, like being there my rookie year, obviously I saw the work that those guys put in. Like, obviously, you never know if you're going to get the opportunity to make it back to the Super Bowl. Obviously, I played on a really good football team, great coach, great quarterback. So I knew there possibly an opportunity to get back out there. But just to be able to have that opportunity, I just wanted to make the most of it because I know a lot of guys don't get that opportunity. And I say the whole nation's watching during that game as well. So it's like man, you got to put your best foot forward. You don't be out there fucking up during that game. So for me, I just wanted to have a lot of fun. Whole family's there. Everybody's there. It's just an electric atmosphere. Had a great time.
All right, we only got you for a couple more minutes, so I'm going to get you out of here on a couple rapid fire questions. So I'm going to start. Who was the biggest physical freak you played with at Wisconsin and then in the league?
Physical freak at Wisconsin. Ooh, that's tough. Physical freak. Desmond Southwood was a pretty physical freak right there. Just extremely athletic, jump, lift, all that good stuff. Borland was a physical freak too as well. Just wasn't the biggest guy, but would decleat linemen in practice all the time. In the NFL, physical freak. Ooh. NFL. That's tough. Probably Dante Hightower. That's probably one of them. Trying to think who else could be one physical freak. Gronk would definitely have to be one of them, obviously. I think those probably top two off the top of my head.
Fastest guy you played with?
Fastest guy I played with? Right, Devin McCourty. Easy.
Really?
Devin McCourty, or there's a guy, Keon Crossan. He's pretty fast. He plays for the Dolphins now. He's pretty fast. Like, you're gonna be like Devin can still run. He's probably right up there with some of these younger guys. Like, you'd be very, very surprised.
Most emotional moment in a Badger uniform?
Most emotional. Probably have to be senior night. Losing that game, senior night against Penn State, that was a pretty sad day for me. Just walking off Camp Randall Field with a loss your senior night, that sucked.
Well, then we'll flip it around. Best highlight at Camp Randall Stadium.
Best highlight, Ohio State beating Ohio State my freshman year. That was my favorite highlight right there.
Yeah, hard. That was a pretty epic one. So, yeah. And then we gotta ask you, how are you feeling about everything that's happened in the last 6 months, going from where they were to where they are now, the new coaching staff? Have you had a chance to interact with anyone in the new administration?
I have not yet. Obviously, it sucks for me because Coach Chris is a good friend of mine. I talk with Coach Chris all the time. I still talk to him. I think he gets, judged pretty unfairly. Like, blame gets primarily put on him. He did a great job. Like, he does a lot of great things for the University of Wisconsin, and he's a great coach in my opinion. So I think I think people should stop talking crap about him because he did a great job with the cards that he was dealt. But I think the new coach staff, Luke Fickell, I think it'll bring in some different energy, new life. Somebody who hasn't been embedded in the University of Wisconsin brings completely different perspectives, and I think sometimes that change can be needed. And I said I've been liking what I've been seeing and hearing so far. I haven't got a chance to interact with any of those guys, but I said it seems like they're trying to bring in guys who are going to compete from anywhere and everywhere. And I think that'll definitely help. So I said they have like 100 quarterbacks on the roster right now. So that's the biggest question mark always with Wisconsin is like who's going to be the quarterback. He's going to be able to take command of the offense and make the throws when we need him to make the throws. So and he's been known to develop quarterbacks and have a lot of talented quarterbacks when he's at Cincinnati and whatnot. So it's going to be fun to watch, and like who knows if they're going to be extremely competitive right away. I mean, I hope so, but it may take a couple of years. But we all just got to wait and see.
Man, I hope so.
Yeah,
all the moves they made, I really do. I really have high hopes, but I also hope that they come out fiery.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. Yeah.
I hope so too. But you gotta give it time. Like he's got to get his guys in there, the type of players that he sees fit for the school, and so sometimes that takes a year or two. But I said I think they still have a lot of talent on the roster. I think the quarterback is obviously the biggest position that's going to have to play extremely well for those guys to have a chance.
All right, so last question, James. I was on the team. We just dominated an opponent. We're getting on our scooters. We're driving home. Where are we stopping to get a beer right off the bat? What's like the most what's outside of like the College Club and Wando's? What's a place you used to go that like maybe people didn't know about or that nobody?
There was a place called Logan's at the time. I don't think it lasted very long, but I forget all the streets and whatnot in Mass, and I feel like it was only open for like a year or two before it got closed down. That was a huge spot. Nitty Gritty was a solid one. I know I lived right next to Nitty Gritty. I lived in the Palisades. So it was a few spots. We used to diversify our portfolio when it came to going out. I mean, even like my junior year, like I can say it now. We used to just throw parties in our apartment. Like that's what we used to do. Like we almost just like stopped. We went to the bars too, but we just threw parties in our apartment. That's what it kind of turned to.
Oh wait, I think it was Hugs talked about Club 305.
Yeah. Club 1001. Club 1001.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking Miami, so I'm thinking 305. But yeah.
Yeah, Club 1001. That was me, Monty, and Isaiah Williams' apartment. That was I don't know how we didn't get evicted out of there. That was. We did have Lucky Apartments, which was a nice apartment too. So surprised they didn't give us the boot out of that one.
Oh man, all the good times. It was this was great, man. Thank you so much for sharing. It's such an honor and a pleasure to have you.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Believe in Badgers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, presented by betonline.ag. And until next time, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Oh.